Money Vikings. All right, how you doing? Welcome back, and I really appreciate you checking into the channel. So I have a really interesting one for you today. As I approach my 50s, I'm a Gen X. I want to talk about 5 practical financial milestones to hit by the time you're 50 and into your 50s. I want to talk about this in terms of not the ideal, because there's a lot of videos out there, there's a lot of content about what is the ideal. And I think that those of us that are now around the age 50 realize that life doesn't always go as planned. And so everyone probably knows that. Maybe we don't realize it as much in our 20s, but as you get close to your 50s and into your 50s, you realize that life is a can be a wonderful journey, right? A wonderful experience, but it has its curveballs, and those curveballs can come in all kinds of forms. You can have health scares. You can have family issues and dynamics. There can be divorce. There can be challenges raising children. There can be challenges with your family. There can be unforeseen financial problems that arise. Careers don't always go as we expect them to go, of course, right? So it's part of the excitement of life because, in a way, if you think about it, things would be pretty boring if, at the age of 18, you make a plan for every decade of your life until 95, and basically just every year just follows that plan beautifully. But it doesn't go that way. It goes in twists and turns and curveballs, and things happen. And then the thing about it, you realize too, when you're approaching your 50s and you're in your, and maybe you're in your 50s, that some of the things you couldn't plan for. So some of the things are better than you could have ever imagined, and you just couldn't have planned for them, really, which is not a bad thing. It's just part of this whole human experience. So with that said, I did definitely some research here, the old Google, and you get the tried and true stuff, financial to-dos in your 50s. I've got one here, what kind of debt are you carrying? Reduce your expenses and consider downsizing, boost your retirement savings, take advantage of retirement catch-up, begin planning for medical expenses. So there's a lot of things like that, right? But I just want to get down to 5 fundamental and practical things that I think we should try to do, given that life is not perfect and that, there are certain curveballs that come our way through this journey. So that said, there's all kinds of stuff, as you know, milestones in your 50s. Here's some things to think about in your 50s: financial security, career accomplishments, routine health checkups, aging gracefully, all that great stuff. Okay, but let me do my 5 practical sort of things. So the first one I would say is, as you're approaching 50 and into your 50s, so a lot of financial advisors will put a number on it. It's like, you should have 5 times, 6 times, 7 times your salary invested by the time you're 50. But that's not always practical. Again, life happens, career challenges happen, there's unforeseen expenses, whatever it might be. So the bottom line is to ensure that you're automating into some kind of investments, right? I think that is just the critical key here, is that you're automating into some kind of investments. And I would say investments that are of low cost. You're not being charged an arm and a leg in fees. And the other thing is just to be very practical minded about it. If you're not into investing and you don't want to do a lot of research, which most of us don't, we just want to live our lives. I just do very simple, Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab funds, right? The SCHD, the VU, all these kind of things. The S&P 500 type index funds, maybe specialize in a few different areas, but we shall see. So that is the first one right there. So number 2. My second category that I'm going to talk about is no wacky debt, okay? I think, again, practically minded, I think we have to realize that we're probably going to have some debt in our 50s. We probably, as we approach 50, we're probably not going to have a house paid off by then. Hopefully, We have, for example, a house that we can afford every month in terms of everything involved in that, and whether you're renting or you own, that there's an affordable component of it, right? But no wacky debt, right? So they're really at this time, there's no time now for the, the debt for the boat and the RV, putting a huge vacation on a credit card and not saving for it and thinking about it and planning for it, just putting on a credit card and paying, 11, 12% interest. All the like consumer junk that, people buy and get suckered into, the electronics and the clothes and the shoes and all this kind of stuff that just racks up the credit cards. And so that's what I really call wacky debt. Now, if it's debt on a reasonably affordable house or some kind of investment property that spins off cash flow, or some, I don't like car loan debt, but sometimes I do realize we need it. At least keep in mind if it's a practical car and not like, again, some $100,000, luxury vehicle if we can't afford to buy it. So that's what I say number two is just cut out the wacky debt at this point. There's no time for that. The problem with it is that it is the opposite of wealth building, and this is crunch time, right? Late 40s, early 50s, that is crunch time for really building up. Okay. So number three, really having dialed in at this point a long-term plan for reasonable home costs. So the cost of housing is really the biggest thing for most people, and that's whether it be a mortgage or rent. Rents are typically pretty high, as well as mortgages and owning a home. They're both very expensive things, to be honest. So, having that dialed in and figured out is really critical, I think, at this stage. And whatever that takes, house hacking, buying, modestly, fixing up over time, whatever it might be. Okay. Okay, number four is this. Number four is a little more exciting, but I think at this age it's really good to save up for some kind of dream and make it a reality. Maybe you've always wanted to go to Alaska. Maybe you've always wanted to go to Hawaii. Maybe you've always wanted to go to Europe. Well, now's the time. Now's the time to actually create an account and save up and do it if that's something you want to do. Maybe you always wanted to learn an instrument or learn how to paint or draw. I don't know. Again, now's the time. Save up and take a class. Buy some supplies, right? That kind of thing. So, I think now's the time to try something like that. You can kind of reinvent yourself a little bit without just, completely changing everything. So I think that's a really good thing and healthy thing to look at this age. And the fifth one, the final thing is this. There's two different elements here, but doing something for your health every day seems to be one of the biggest investments you can make as you get into your late 40s and early 50s. So if that's walking the dogs, and I would just say a simple thing, adding an extra veggie, to the plate or to the meal, just trying to choose a healthy thing. I don't think anything is perfect, but, just maybe I like the micro workouts where you can jump on a bike for 10 minutes or whatever it is, or go around the block, get a little sun, whatever it might be. But doing something each day, maybe it's just trying to get yourself to go to bed at a decent hour and just get a full night's sleep, right? So doing something every day for your health, just a small thing, I think really having that as a focal point is critical at this age. And the other thing I add to that about living is having a living trust. So having, if you have a family, having that paperwork done and in the file, for hopefully we all have, 40, 50 good more years of, of living and just growing and creating and loving and all that kind of great stuff. But it's good a peace of mind at this point to really have that living trust or those types of documents and wills all sort of written up and put in the file cabinet, right? So those are my 5 practical things. Please comment. I'd really like to hear what things you're doing in your 40s and early 50s at this point in your stage of building wealth and just living a life of true wealth. So please leave your comment. I know I missed a bunch of things. You can come up with a laundry list of 25 things, and you can find them all over the internet. You can find 25, 30 things that we should be doing. But I wanted to keep this very practical and succinct. as in terms of like 5 key things that I think are the fundamentals that will really help. Of course, there's much more to dive into and many more details, but hope you enjoyed that. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing, and we'll see you all in the next one. Take care.